Welcome everyone in the next session of feasibility studies, preliminary design and EIA of the project. Today's topic is very much important because we almost reached to the very last session of EIA. Okay, so today we will talk about how the twin goal development is important for any country's stability, and today we'll also talk about what is actually national policy and what is national policy of Pakistan in terms of environmental protection. What are the environmental machineries or like the ways of legislation through which we can ensure the application of EIA on any specific project, and also what must contain EIA without whom it cannot be decided, and who have the power to review and who can decide. Okay, and also how we can make sure the public involvement as well. Going to the very first slide, you need to understand that what is basically national policy. National policy is a statement containing principle and a broad course of action which is adopted by the national government to perceive a specific objective. That also means that we would like to make a vision and mission for the year or for long term and for the short term as well. So the short term indicator will make sure to achieve the long term goals. Okay. Among the national policies, how we can decide that what is actually national policy. So that means that national policy should be achievable. We should achieve that specific thing. But before to go in a very detail, first I will briefly explain the twin goal development, or like why we called it the twin goal development. Okay, so the global monitoring report, which includes for the first time, uh, which we call the twin goal, or like two goals. The very first one is that how we can extreme the poverty by 2030, and how we can boost the income. Okay, our income, we can also call that income in terms of to create more jobs and also to feed more mouth. Okay, among the national policy. So if the twin goal of development and environmental resources are to be achieved, then they must both should be the part of a national policy. Okay, development along with environmental and natural resources. So so the question is that it should indicate the farmer of the different constraint indicator, which must operate to enable the consistency of the development and also how we can save the environment. The first quality of the national policy is that it should be achievable. Okay, the next indicator, it serves no purpose to state is a policy that no action will be permitted to degrade the environmental policies in any of the way. This is quite impractical. Instead, a national policy should acknowledge the trade-off between development needs and development quality and set realistic goals for both through applied or through which we can make them possible to apply environmental policies and management to any kind of a project. So the next one is the national policy. It should be flexible. Okay. The second quality of the national policy is that it should be very much specific. So like areas of national concern should be clearly spelled out. On the environmental side, these may be kind of land erosion, air, water quality to reduce urban sprawl uh, to eradicate extreme poverty, also take care of the natural resources and reservoir as well. So the next quality is that it should be flexible. Okay, it does not mean that it should be kind of changeable or like it should be reformed again and again. Instead, it means that the policy should be open to suggestion and also adopt the comment for each and everyone, because in EIA you cannot make very specific rules and guidelines. So you should act and react according to the local context according to the project to project. So the last element is the national policy must be responsive to the social and cultural tradition of the people and of the country. Okay, policies which ignore these traditions are soon found to be unforceable and fall into disuse, or you cannot apply them. So conversely, policy which acknowledge these traditions gain active public support and participation. Such support is needed and vital to success of the environmental program. Man in kind of every much of the part of environment, and his attitude can dictate the success of or failure of the efforts to converse it. The next part is environmental machinery, or like why we call it environmental machinery. Okay, before to go in a detail, I will tell you that the first time in the Stockholm, the conference was held in 1972, where only 10 countries with some type of environmental policies, or we called it environmental machinery or set of instruction, were arranged. But with passage of time, the same number reached to 110. So a problem facing countries in this context is the question of setting up appropriate environmental machinery. The number, the kind of, but the question is why it called the environmental machinery, because it is very difficult to give advice is what kind of machinery or like set of instruction would be useful because of the complexity of scientific data and the need of cross sectoral coordination. Perhaps it is better to achieve or to have the environmental policy within aggregate number of experts who can deal with different problem which is facing within the country. Next part is about legislation. When it's come to legislation, so the national policy and environmental machinery, it should work together to legalize those set of instruction within the country. So there is no universal specific model for the EIA legislation. So it is completely mixed of different laws. So at one extreme, those countries with no laws mandating EIA, but which proceed on case to case. So at the other extreme, the countries which have comprehensive laws, regulations, guidelines, which cover all aspects of EIA, and there are also many countries in between as well. So what kind of legislation will be used? Now, question is, we believe that the legislation will be useful for all the countries if they have a framework of legislation in terms of EIA, which clearly mention their policies, that how they can regulate, that how they can legalize all those laws within the country. Okay, which will also permit to insist on the EIA for a major proposed action. So many EIA laws include a statement which indicate that EIA is necessary or induction of what EIA must contain, and also the section which empower a certain body to like review EIA means, which we already mentioned, that who are the reviewers and who are the RTVs, or like we can call them decision maker. In addition to that, the legal administration part is also very much important. You cannot ignore that as well. So now the question is, what must contain EIA? Okay, you need to understand that. So like the two sets of document is very much important. Okay, the one with the technical specification, while the another one with the environmental impact. We simply don't know, given to the current state of any country, that scientific and technical knowledge and all systematical in every systematic environmental impact of those activities can be undertaken or not. Environmental decision making is full with risk and uncertainties about the future and large intangible. Okay, so the identification of those social and welfare implication of the development and investment is not easy to get out. Okay, so the two set of document preparation means one with all the technical features, while another one with all the environmental impact. The next part is about description of the proposed action. So the result of the scoping exercise is very much important, and there should be a summary of the baseline study, and also there will be a presentation that each alternative can be considered and what will be its long-term and short-term impact. And the last part is that the working document should be clearly cross-referenced to the record document so that it will be easy to locate and also find the detailed whenever it is required. It means that, for example, if those attributes, if those decision maker, if those reviewers made some type of a judgment or like decision, so there should be a cross verification or cross calculation for that, that why that intensive and delicate and specific type of a decision have been taken. So now the next question is who reviews and who attributes. The essential part of EIA is that how we can establish the legislation part. OK, so developer decision do not run counter the national policies or should not be violate areas of a special sensitivity, because each is, as we already mentioned, that some areas are like some location or bounded, such as cross like cultural or like religious or maybe security concerns. So you should be very much careful. The function of those peoples would then be the how they can consider and practically make it possible to apply those policies. So beyond the need for those technical review, there is also need to dispute the settlement procedure as well. So now the next question is that how we can ensure, and sorry, the slide is a bit very much contrast, so but I will be very careful next time. So one principle is that how we can consider the cost benefit. So you should explain to the people that if there is some type of a quantification of a certain environmental impact, so how we can convert the same part to the cost benefit. The next part is about it, how we can quantify those damages, and then how we can the control population as well. OK, population mitigation and migration and so on. OK, thank you very much. If you have any question, please get back. My name is Professor Dr. Asim Farooq. You can subscribe to this channel and then just click on the playlist. You can find multiple different subjects which is already covered in a quite easy manner in this whole chapter. Thank you very much. Take care. If you have any question, please.